Hello and welcome back to 321 Adam. I'm your host Adam, and in today's episode we're going to talk about the NHL Playoff. But more importantly, we're going to talk about my bracket. A lot of people say, "Oh, got to do the bracket challenge." A lot of people do this for college basketball, March Madness, and other in NBA, MLB, any pretty much major sport does a bracket challenge. But we're going to start with my bracket challenge today. So you might see me look off to the side here. That's because I have my bracket here. I want to stay true to what I wrote up on it when it first came out, and we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with the Eastern Conference, because the Eastern Conference is a little more, a lot of people say the Eastern Conference is a lot more tighter than the Western Conference, so maybe less upsets, but let's start with the first one. The number one seed, the President's Trophy, Florida Panthers are taking on the Washington Capitals, and a tough matchup here, I think, and a lot of people wouldn't agree with that. Washington is the veteran team. They've been doing things for the last couple of years. A lot of people say that they choke a lot over the years. But the Capitals are going to give the Panthers a really hard time here. The Panthers haven't got out of the first round in 20 plus years. We're talking 90s against Colorado when the Avs beat them in the finals with John Van Beesbrook. But the Panthers are going to have a tough one here. I think this one's going to go to 7. I think Florida's going to eke it out. It's going to be a tough battle. A lot of people in Florida are going to be holding their breath. But Florida's going to come out with the victory here. I think Ovechkin's, he's going to be so close to getting into that second round. And for Ovechkin, he won his one cup, but he wants more. But this time, it's Florida. Florida's very deep. I think Florida is going to take that next step. Getting out of the first round that wasn't President's Trophy, I think, don't see them going out in the first round. The next matchup, and a lot of people call it the most controversial matchup, that's two-time Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yes, so we just talked about the Panthers having a hard time getting out of the first round. The Maple Leafs, yes, the Maple Leafs. They're another one of those teams that can't get out of the first round. They're taking on the two-time Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. So the Leafs are going to be pushed to the boundary. They were so close last year versus Montreal to knock them out, and they just fell apart. Austin Matthews, a career year. Marner, Nylander, all those guys are doing great. Jack Campbell injured. It's going to give the Lightning that early advantage that the Lightning are going to need to put this one away. It's going to go to 7 as well, I think. But I do believe the Maple Leafs are going to upset the two-time Stanley Cup champions. I cannot see the Leafs losing again. It's the easy pick to pick the Lightning. But I'm going with the Leafs here. I think the Leafs are going to have a very, very tough time getting out. And when they finally finish it off in Game 7, I think this one's going to go to overtime, Game 7. One of those games, and everyone in Canada's going to be going, Toronto's going to choke again. Here we go again. One goal goes in, it's over. But I think the Leafs are going to get it. I think it's going to be courtesy of your guy, Nylander. The Leafs are going to upset the Lightning in round 1 here. Continuing on with the Eastern Conference, we're going to go to the Boston Bruins, taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes looked a little shaky there at the end of the year. Looked like maybe the Rangers had a shot to get that Metropolitan Division, but the Rangers are the ones that fall apart late end, and the Hurricanes secure the division and secure the Boston Bruin matchup. To me, the Boston Bruins are one of those teams that the depth is just not there for Boston. Taylor Hall has been up and down. Without Marchand in the lineup, it has been one-dimensional Boston. But they are a grinding team. They're Boston Bruins. We know that. And I do believe the Boston Bruins are going to give the Hurricanes a hard time. Not as hard, though, as my last two matchups. I'm taking Hurricanes in 6. It's going to be a tough one. I think the Hurricanes are really going to stick it to Boston by taking it to Boston and snatching it away from them last second there. The last Eastern Conference matchup, the Metropolitan Division, the Rangers versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. Another one of those matchups like we talked about with Washington. Pittsburgh having a hard time getting out of that first round. They're on the down spawn. A lot of people thought Pittsburgh was going to fall off this year, but they surprised a lot of people. The Rangers, on the other hand, the Rangers are this young, up-and-coming team. They got some hard-hitting guys. They got, in my opinion, the Vezina Trophy winner, Igor Shesterkin. They got a good backup and Georgiev. Some solid back end with Adam Fox, Jacob Trouba, the hitting machine that he is, blocking shots. The Rangers and the Penguins are going to go toe-to-toe here. It's going to go to 7. The Rangers are going to, though, Shesterkin's going to throw up a shutout in Game 7. Follow after King Henrik in deciding games. He's going to show the Eastern Conference and the National Hockey League what he's made of and why he is a force to be reckoned with for the next 15 years, in my opinion. Rangers in 6 are going to knock off Crosby and the Penguins. I think a lot of us are going to be happy to see that as well. Moving on to the Western Conference, we're going to start in the Pacific with this one. The Kings and the Oilers. Of course, the Kings beat out Vegas for that final spot in the Pacific Division pretty early last week. So it was we thought maybe that Dallas and Nashville were going to keep winning, can secure the wild card, that it was going to be the Pacific. But the Kings get in at that third Pacific. They're going to take on the Edmonton Oilers and another team in the Edmonton Oilers who cannot seem to get over the hump, get out of the first or the second round. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, these are these workhorses, machine in the regular season, MVP candidates every single year. Art Ross, Rocket Richard, you name it. These guys are the forces to be reckoned with in the NHL. They're taking over for what Crosby and Ovechkin did in the late 2000s, early 2010s. In this matchup, though, it is going to be a surprise. I think the Oilers are going to sweep the Kings. The Kings they're happy to be there. They're building off of a great season. You know, the young guys, Byfield and other great players. Jonathan Quick at the end of his career, I don't think Quick's going to really have it. I think he has the opportunity to steal some games, but the firepower of Edmonton here, Edmonton is going to sweep the Kings. It's going to be a wrecking. I don't see this going any other way. The second matchup in the Pacific, or you can say the crossover here, we got the Calgary Flames, the Pacific champions, against the first wild card, the Dallas Stars. For a while, it looked like Nashville didn't get that first wild card. It was going to be Dallas, who takes on Colorado. But in this matchup, it's Calgary Flames versus the Dallas Stars. Dallas shaky. They're shaky getting in. They win 3, they lose 3. Just an on and off type of squad here. The goalie situation here, Jake Ottinger is taken over the crease, but is he for real? That's to me, that's the thing. He gets these great shutout games, and other games he looks shaky. That's the story of the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars recouped some of that magic from 2020 when they went all the way to the finals but fell short to the Lightning. I say they do not, and I see they do not in a bad way. Flames in 5, Johnny Gaudreau, Matthew Tkachuk, these guys are going to continue their great regular seasons in the playoffs here. I think goaltending is going to be pretty solid with Markstrom. The Flames are going to get out of the first round for the first time in God knows how long. We know in the first round they lost to Colorado. But Calgary's going to get into the second round this year. And it's going to be a tough matchup, the Battle of Alberta. Then the first round matchup, we got the Minnesota Wild and the St. Louis Blues. This is a matchup that was going back and forth. One of the earliest matchups that we saw determined in the final week that we knew was going to be the Wild and the Blues. But who was going to have that home ice advantage? And it was the Wild that get that last regular season win over Colorado. The Wild and the Blues are going to go toe-to-toe here. It's going to go to 7 games. Kirill Kaprizov, he's going to have everything he's got in this game. But it's going to be the back end for the St. Louis Blues and Vinny Husso and the Bennington combo in net that is going to get St. Louis back to the second round for the first time since their magical year when they won the Cup. But before we get to that, we're going to start with the Colorado Avalanche and the Nashville Predators. Yes, a rematch from the 2018 playoffs where the Predators took care of Colorado, but it was not easy for Nashville. That huge goal that Sven Andrighetto scored in Game 5 for Colorado that got them to a Game 6. Of course, Colorado that year fell short. Goaltending wasn't that great. Depth was really not there at all. But this year, it's the inverse of what we saw in 2018. Number 1 was Nashville. Now it's number 1. It's Colorado in the Western Conference. And the wild card 2 is Nashville. Colorado and Nashville, this is going to be a hard-fought series. Colorado thinks it's going to be easy, but it is not. It is going to be Colorado in 6. It's going to be a hard-fought series. A lot of injuries are going to pile up here for both these teams. But I really do believe that this game is going to be about who can put the most goals up. And I think Darcy Kuemper is going to look shaky. But I think later on in this series he's going to find it. And I think Colorado's going to win this one in 6. Going to give me some little scares here. But I think Colorado's going to get it done in the first round and get us to the second round. Back to the Eastern Conference, round 2. It is the Florida Panthers and Toronto Maple Leafs. Florida is going to wreck the Maple Leafs here. The Maple Leafs are going to be so happy to get out of the first round that they are not going to show up here in round 2. Florida, a clean sweep. Florida is going to be resting at a key point in the playoffs here. After that hard-fought series with the Capitals, they're going to be resting versus the Maple Leafs here. Florida's going to advance to the Eastern Conference Final for the first time since '96. And they're going to be taking on the matchup where you decide for that is the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers. Now, the Rangers got knocked out in 2020 by these Hurricanes in a clean 3-game sweep. And a lot of people said the Rangers were kind of like we saw in the West with the Kings, just happy to be in the playoffs or happy to have a shot. But the Rangers this time are really going to fight hard. It's going to go to 7 games, and Igor Shesterkin is going to fall short in this one. I think the Hurricanes, just the hard-hitting Hurricanes, are going to outduel these young Rangers. And I think the Rangers are going to really learn a lot from this series, but the Hurricanes, they're going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals again. I think the Rangers are really going to have to start looking at some depth moves after this season. But the Hurricanes, we're not going to forget about the Hurricanes here. The Hurricanes are going to have a great run here to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think the Hurricanes are one of these teams that a lot of people say, hey, they won all these regular season games, but are they for real? And we're going to see 2 teams in the East. Are they for real? One of them is for real. But back to the West, it is the Flames versus the Oilers, the Battle of Alberta, what Canada wants. One of these teams is going to the Western Conference Finals. That's a win for Canada, but the Oilers, Connor McDavid versus Johnny Gaudreau. You have Draisaitl, Tkachuk. You have this goaltending battle between Markstrom and who? That's right. That's the reason why the Flames will advance here. Flames in 6 over the Oilers. And the Oilers are just going to run out of gas here. McDavid's going to get tired of carrying this team. And it's goaltending for me. Koskinen for the Oilers is just not enough. He's not enough to get us to the Western Conference Finals. That the Oilers need to make a goaltending move in the offseason if they expect to go any deeper than the second round in the following coming years. The final second round matchup, we see the St. Louis Blues and the Colorado Avalanche, a rematch from last season where the Avalanche swept the Blues. We talk about Ryan O'Reilly's comments about how they're going to take down Colorado. He gets a second opportunity of proving to not only his team, but his management, but to the world, that the Blues can take on Colorado, and it is not going to disappoint. St. Louis, you got Brendan Saad coming over on this side, a much deeper St. Louis team, and Colorado, very banged up from the Nashville series. It is going to be very tough for Colorado in this one. I do see Colorado getting over the Schneid. They win this in 7 games, and Colorado's going to keep being pushed to the limit in these playoffs at this point. Colorado is going to advance to the Western Conference Final for the first time since 2002. And we're going to see a great matchup in the West. Back to the East, the Eastern Conference Finals, the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes. The 2 teams that everyone says, do they have enough? Are they for real? Can they get out of their divisions? Can they get past Tampa Bay? Can they get past Toronto? Can the Hurricanes, can they get past the Boston Bruins? Can they get past the Rangers? Maybe the Penguins, maybe. These teams are going to be pushing themselves to the limit, and it's going to be quite surprising to me. I really see Carolina taking care of Florida in 5 games in this one. Real shocker. Florida coming off that sweep of Toronto. Too much rest. Too much rest, and it gets them. And they're going to learn a very valuable lesson in this one. Carolina's going to win this one in 5, go to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since they won it. And that, to me, is a huge deal for Carolina Hurricanes. And who will they take on in the Western Conference Finals? We got the Colorado Avalanche versus the Calgary Flames. The Calgary Flames, they're a team who their coach Daryl Sutter said, why even bother playing Colorado? It's just a waste of 10, 11 days, whatever it might take, for Colorado to knock us out. And that he said that for a reason. Just, he knew that these 2 teams were going to meet up in the Western Conference Finals. He knew it. And this was a way to get his team riled up and ready. Colorado, they went to 6 and 7 games in the first 2 rounds. They're not going to go any shorter than that in this one. The Western Conference, Calgary's going to push them, and push them hard. The rematch from 2019 series, the first round of that one, where Colorado upset Calgary in 5. This one's going to go to at least 6, but I'm taking 7. Colorado in 7. Another hard-fought series. Nathan MacKinnon's going to really put it to this one. I think Landeskog's finally going to be back to his old self after the knee surgery. And the first 2 rounds kind of still trying to find himself. We're going to see Nichushkin cool down. Burakovsky's going to have some big games. But to me, it is all about what Landeskog brings to this team and how Nathan MacKinnon and Landeskog really team up together. We know what Mikko Rantanen can do. But to me, it is about Landeskog and MacKinnon. They're going to push this one to the 7 games. They're going to take down Calgary. I'm saying shut up Darcy Kemper. We're going back to the finals since 2001, and we're taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. And to that matchup, for anyone who wants to see a great matchup, to me, that's it. Everyone says you want to see Colorado versus Florida. The Presidents are the 2 best teams in the league. But to me, Carolina is a better team than Florida. Florida just doesn't have the intangibles. I think Rob Brendamore behind the bench, that is what we need. The Carolina Hurricanes are going to push Colorado, and this is going to be a lot like what we saw in 1994 with the Rangers, who they had to be these hard-fought, emotional series. Carolina's going to take that 3-2 lead. Landeskog is going to lead this team all the way back to Game 7, just like he did in 2019 versus the Sharks. And this time I tell you, he will stay on side in Game 7, and we will take home the cup for the first time since 2001, and I will be carrying everyone around the house. That's today's episode of 321 Adam. If you like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on 321 Adam.